welcome to Half the Battle, and welcome, my friends, to Christmas!
It's my favorite time of the year. Great food, great drinks, great company, and plenty of presents. And I love Christmas specials and movies. I make it a point to watch a lot of them every year. And of course, the Doctor Who Christmas specials.
And did you know that the G.I. Joe cartoon also did a Christmas episode? Well, they did. Oh boy, did they ever. You know, there are times that I'll fiercely defend the cartoon as being more than just a 23-minute toy commercial. This won't be one of those times. So get ready for some Christmas cheer, folks, as we take a look at Cobra Claws Are Coming to Town.
The episode starts with a couple of Joes, including CoverGirl, heading back to Joe headquarters after having collected presents for a children's hospital.
Yes, that was Frank Welker singing Jingle Bells as a parrot. And you thought my singing sucked.
Frank Welker, for those of you who don't know, is one of the most prolific voice actors in Hollywood. He's perhaps most famous for voicing Megatron, Soundwave, and Dr. Claw. He also does a hell of a lot of animal voices and noises. If you've seen a movie with animals in it, chances are you've heard Frank Welker without even knowing it. Anyway, the Joes get attacked by a Cobra rattler and are forced to stop. Right where Cobra wanted them to stop, in fact, as Firefly drops some toys of their own in the trailer, including a rocking horse.
Who cares? He's gone. Let's not look a gift horse in the mouth.
That was actually a clever little reference to a Trojan horse. A reference that gets completely ruined though, because later they say this.
A Trojan rocking horse.
And that's just bullcrap because, well...
Except you have to explain it to me! If you have to explain a joke, there is no joke!
This never fails to irritate me in fiction. They make a clever little reference, and then they feel the need to completely explain it. Either because they think their audience is dumb, or they want to make sure absolutely everybody gets it.
The worst example of this that I can think of comes from Stargate SG-1, where in one episode Carter, a brilliant physicist, has a cat called Schrödinger. I thought it was a clever little joke and should have been left at that. But then they immediately explain why it's supposed to be funny by telling us all about the Schrödinger's cat thought experiment. This would be like if I had gone into a 5-minute explanation of the 2005 season of Doctor Who after showing you Billy Piper last week.
I prefer to assume that my audience isn't comprised of drooling morons. And hey, even if they don't get a reference and they still want to know, they're at least intelligent enough to know what Google is and look it up.
You know when this was done right? Red Dwarf of all places. There's an episode where they meet a computer called Cassandra who accurately predicts the future. And not once during the episode did they feel the need to explain why the name was significant.
Wow, that was one hell of a tangent, wasn't it? What the hell were we talking about again? Alright, Christmas and G.I. Joe.
So the Joes return to base carrying Cobra's nefarious toys with them. There's only a handful of Joes there, since most have gone home for Christmas. Nice to know that there's an elite team defending the country, except on holidays. One of the Joes remaining is Blowtorch.
Always wanted one of these when I was a lad.
And we find out that he's a brony. Go figure. He also doesn't notice that the horse's eyes are ominously flashing.
I mean, I'd notice if one of my toys was taken over by Satan.
As the remaining Joes sit down for their Christmas dinner, we find out that Mutt doesn't like Christmas. Because his parents didn't let him play in any of the reindeer games or something.
What's wrong with Mutt?
Beats me, Tripwire.
By the way, no dog ever would set aside a huge meal just because his master is getting all Scrooged up. Anyway, Mutt goes to check on the toys and oh my god, the pony is attacking! Friendship is magic, my ass!
Now, at this point you may be wondering what is actually inside those evil toys Cobra snuck in. Nerve gas? Bombs? A deadly toxin or virus? Nope, it's far, far worse than that. Hope you're ready for this one, folks.
Inside are Cobra soldiers and vehicles that have been shrunk down to toy size. They're not little robots or anything, they're actual people. And you know what? It's not even the absurd science I'm objecting to. This is the G.I. Joe cartoon, after all. It's about as scientifically accurate as Harry Potter. No, my objection is how blatant this is. They actually had the balls to portray their characters as toys, right size and all. And they come to life. I know, cartoons from the 80s were made to sell toys, but usually they aren't that in your face about it. Usually the stories come first and just happen to include toys they're selling. I'll defend the G.I. Joe cartoon, as well as others from the era, as being good cartoons despite them being about toys. But here, they put a freaking Christmas toy commercial inside their giant toy commercial. This is like the inception of commercialism. This is Toy Story as envisioned by Donald Trump. This is basically Small Soldiers, it's just as blatant, but without Phil Hartman.
Proving once again that everything is worse without Phil Hartman.
Look, kids, your action figures will come to life on Christmas. Buy 'em, nag your parents. Ugh. You know, this alone is why this is the worst Christmas special of all time. Worse than whatever crap the Nostalgia Critic comes up with.
But there's more! We aren't even 5 minutes into the cartoon yet! I mean, we haven't even seen the meat humping!
So anyway, the action figure-sized Cobras are holding their own against the Joes. And, you know, I can't help thinking that there might be a very, very easy solution to this problem.
Yes! We're finally inside! Victory is mine! Hey, what's that? What are you doing? No! No!
They managed to take down the defenses, allowing Firefly to get in and use their magical shrink ray in reverse, meaning the Joes are now outnumbered and surrounded by fully grown troops. Mercifully, the ray gets damaged in the process, so we can end that chapter.
And that's the only bit of credit that I'll give this episode. They could have made the entire thing about being toy-sized, but thankfully they decided not to.
With the Joes defeated, Cobra Commander can now reveal his plan. The shrink ray was just the first part.
We now have the Joe weapons and vehicles we need for tomorrow's attack on Keystone City.
You're gonna attack a city? With our gear?
To make the government think we're behind it.
Keystone City? Better be careful, Cobra Commander. They have one hell of a police department.
Thank you! I could have also gone with a flash joke here.
While not very original, I have to admit that a false flag operation is a pretty clever idea. Unusually clever for Cobra, in fact. Hey, even Duke is impressed and he's all aboard with the plan.
We're tired of serving our country. It's time the country started serving us.
Okay, of course it's not Duke. It's Sartan in disguise. Not that this matters much, because the plot point of him pretending to be Duke is immediately dropped and never mentioned again.
Smooth work there, cartoon.
Since this is the G.I. Joe cartoon, where nobody ever dies, Cobra Commander, of course, doesn't just have the Joes shot immediately. Instead, he locks them up in a meat freezer so they can freeze to death.
And here we learn that Shipwreck has an unusual fetish even for the internet age.
You know, me and that side of beef could have a meaningful relationship.
Is your brain frostbitten or what?
We're all seeing this, right? A sailor dry humping a slab of beef? Well, isn't that just truly the spirit of Christmas? Sure, he claims it's to get free, but this is Shipwreck we're talking about. Any excuse will do. At this point, Cobra Commander remembers he hasn't been a complete dumbass yet this episode, so he decides to taunt the Joes by leaving the key to their handcuffs just out of reach in the cooler. Nice to see the commander is at his usual level of excellence. So Cobra buggers off in the Joe vehicles to attack Keystone City, with Duke as Cobra Commander's prisoner in a Sky Striker jet. Because if Duke isn't in a coma, then he's a prisoner. Greatest leader of the Joes of all time, people. Dave left Destro behind to fix his shrink/enlarge ray. The Joes promptly escape from their maximum security stockade. Well, from the freezer, anyway. And they attack Destro. He tries to once again use the shrink ray, but only manages to hit furniture. Furniture and the goddamn parrot before the Joes subdue him. They turn Polly, that's unsurprisingly the parrot, back to normal and head off to stop Cobra. Since they have no equipment of their own left, they're forced to use the vehicles that Cobra left behind. And they soon engage their enemy.
The wedding will be Friday. I am so sorry.
Claw, one of ours!
And there's your justification for the title, ladies and gentlemen. It's called Cobra Claws Are Coming to Town because it has claws in it.
These little vehicles actually only appear very briefly in the story and are in no way the focus. But hey, we had to cram that weak pun in somehow, right? Also...
But who's flying it?
Who's flying it? Jolly old Saint Nick, who the hell do you think is flying it? The fight goes, well, as you'd expect, and Cobra is defeated. The battle scenes are easily the best part of the episode, so I won't complain much. Except to say that, in the past, they've always hammered on the fact that Cobra's equipment is far inferior to the Joe's, so it shouldn't be this easy. Even with the battle lost, Cobra Commander still manages to shoot down CoverGirl. He also ejects from the plane, along with Duke, who doesn't have a parachute.
Looks like both Duke and CoverGirl are doomed. But don't worry, let me introduce you to today's Deus Ex Machina. Hope you're ready for this.
It's the parrot. The parrot that has grown to roughly Godzilla size. He flies in and saves both CoverGirl and Duke. If your nose has just spontaneously started bleeding, that's because your brain couldn't handle the stupid. Truly another wonderful Christmas moment. 'Cause as we learned from the Nativity, it was Joseph, Mary, the three wise men, and of course the giant goddamn parrot. And so our episode ends with CoverGirl flirting with Duke. Something I'm sure Scarlett, who isn't in this episode because she went home for Christmas, will be absolutely thrilled about. Also, Mutt now likes Christmas all of a sudden. Yes, the often told story of somebody learning how to love Christmas gets all of 11 seconds of resolution this episode. Because apparently, the true meaning of Christmas is blowing a lot of stuff the hell up. And giant parrots.
Well, that was Cobra Claws Are Coming to Town. And I can't tell which part filled me most with Christmas spirit. Was it a giant parrot? Was it a beef-humping sailor? Or was it the most blatant toy commercial this side of actual toy commercials?
A more generous person could think that the whole shrink ray thing was really just a cartoon poking fun at itself by making the people action figure sized. But I'm calling bah humbug on that one. All those scenes did were remind kids that G.I. Joe toys would make great Christmas presents.
This episode blows.
If you want to see a good Christmas story, go watch Scrooged. I make it a point to watch it every year, and it never fails to make me smile.
Well, that's all for me, folks. All that's left to do is to wish you a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Festivus, or hell, just Wednesday. Whatever you do, I hope you have a wonderful time.